Hi and welcome back to another Access 2016 video. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at creating an update query. Looking back at our scenario for Clive's cars here, we have a new sale form, and when we sell a car or Clive sells a car, we'll select the date and we'll select our client and the vehicle and the salesperson and the selling price. Probably too many noughts for the car. So what we want to happen here is when we click the complete sale, we don't just want this form to refresh ready for the next sale. We want that to happen obviously and this data be put over into the sales table, but we want one thing else to happen as well, and that comes down to this combo box here. When we look in it, we have lots of vehicles in our vehicle table. I can just open it, but each of them has either a sold or an unsold, no tick in the sold box field. When we're looking at our navigation form or our new sale form, we've set it so the only vehicles that are available to be sold are those without the tick in the box. As you can see, so we've got this vehicle, the black MPV, and we've got the green hatchback are the only cars available in our combo box here, which is great, that works fine. But when we sell one of these vehicles, we need to modify the vehicle table to put that checkbox into the box so that we cannot sell it again until either we get a replacement for it or we buy it back off our customer, then we can sell it again. So what we need to do is when the navigation form or the new sale form is actually being completed, we need something that's actually going to put that tick into this column, this field on the vehicle table. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to create a query, and a query is a way to retrieve information from the database, but there's other queries which can modify data in the database called update queries. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through this scenario and show you how to create a query that we can then attach to the macro or the set of instructions that this button processes, so that every time we sell a vehicle, we're actually updating our vehicle table to say that it's been sold. Okay, the way that we're going to start is we're going to firstly, just as I've done here, I'm going to populate or put some information into the form ready to be clicked. And the reason we're doing that is that, if you remember rightly, when we created this combo box and we created two columns, in the first column was the ID for the vehicle that we've selected, and in the second column is the information for the vehicle. And we hid that first column, but that is the column that's being selected when we select one of the cars. So to be able to modify the record for this vehicle, we need to get access to that ID that's hidden here to the left of the information that we do see. Excuse me. So we need to put information in there, so there is actually a hidden ID sitting there ready for us to get hold of. So first thing we do is we open up our new sale form and we put some data into the form. And to be honest with you, the only one that we really need for the time being is the information for the vehicle. So we'll leave that sitting there. And the next thing we do is we go off to create and we use the query design. So if we look at the labels underneath the sections, we've got queries here. We're not going to use the query wizard. We're going to do this manually through the query design. So we click the query design button, and now this has given us our query builder system. First thing we need to do over on the right hand side, we need to add the table that we're actually going to be using. Often when we're building queries, we're using multiple tables, but for this instance, we're just going to be using the vehicle table because that's all that we want to change. So I've just double clicked over here and it's put all of the fields for the query for the vehicle table over here. we're going to be using two parts of this. The first part is the vehicle ID, and that's what's going to be available hidden over here in our selected vehicle. So we're going to have that on the left hand side in the first column. The other thing that we're going to be using is the sold checkbox. So we'll double click on sold, and sold pops down here. So now comes the interesting bit. In my previous video I talked to you about the importance of actually working within the navigation form once we've created it, because the location of this combo box is different to what it would be if it was outside the navigation, and I'll show you what I mean by that. What we need to do is, under our vehicle ID, inside the criteria, rather than typing a number, what we're going to do is we're going to be getting this part of this query to actually go and look onto that form and find what value is in the box where the vehicle's been selected. The way we do that is we use square brackets. Remember, I've talked about square brackets before. Square brackets indicate to Access that this thing already exists in this database. And the thing that we're going to be typing in first is forms. As you see, when I start typing FOR, the only thing it can be, the only thing that exists in the database that starts with that is our forms. So I'm going to double click on forms, and it automatically closes the square brackets for me. The next thing we need to do is find a particular form. And the way that we do that is we type an exclamation mark, which is Shift and 1. And when we do that, Access gives us a list of all of the forms that exist in the database. And here is that difference that I was talking about. We can see that we've got our new vehicle, our new sales form, but we've also got the navigation form. And that's where our new sale form is actually living at the moment. That's where it's open. So we need to select navigation form. And again, we double click. Within the navigation form, we have something called a navigation subform, which is, let's pop over and show you. So in the design view, you can see that this block up here is selected. This shows the boundaries of the actual navigation form. It goes right the way around here. But when we look inside, we can see that there's another top left hand box. This is the start of the other form. This is the new client form that we're looking at here. So this is a subform within a main form. So our navigation forms are on the outside, and this one in here is the navigation subform. It's not actually using the form's name. What we're doing is we're using whatever form is sitting inside this area on the navigation form. So we're not looking for the new sale form here. We're looking for, if I can click back on it, that's invalid. Okay, so we're typing our exclamation mark, and then we're not looking for the new sale form, but we're looking right at the bottom for the navigation subform. Okay, so that's us done with those exclamation marks now. What we need to do now is say that inside the navigation subform is a form, and the way we access that is not with an exclamation mark, but it's with a full stop. And then another open bracket, open square bracket, and we want form, which isn't in there. What we want to do is type in the word form. So what we're saying is that inside our database we have a group of things called forms. One of those is called the navigation form. Inside that is the navigation subform. So they're all separated by exclamation marks. Now we're starting using a full stop. That full stop is saying that we're looking for whatever form is currently the navigation subform. So we'll click on forms, and it says, right, so inside the navigation subform there is a form, and now we can use our exclamation mark again, and that will give us the name of everything that is currently sitting in our navigation subform. And currently you'll see that I've actually got in my navigation, because I changed it from what it was earlier, the new client form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over to navigation, select my sales tab and my new sale form. I'm going to turn this out of design view into form view. Go to new sale. Then I'm going to put that vehicle back in to that box, so we've got that ID that's hidden. So now when we go back to our query and we redo our exclamation mark, it's actually now going to show me all of the parts of the form that are currently available inside the navigation subform. And the one that we're looking for is our vehicle ID, because that's the name of the combo box that has the vehicle in. Never use the ones called labels, because all they are is just the bit of text to the left of the box. What we want is the actual box itself. So I just double clicked on vehicle ID. So it's quite a long path to actually find something that's sitting in that active form inside the navigation subform. What we're going to do is just test it. We're going to go back to our query, go back to design and just run it. And what we're expecting to see is the vehicle ID of the vehicle that's been selected. So this must be vehicle 5. We can do a quick check of that by looking at the vehicle table and making sure that the Volia Black MPV is the one that's selected. Yes, Volia Black MPV, and that is indeed vehicle ID 5, which it is. So currently our select query, because all we've done is selected something for the time being, is working. So we're going to go back to the design view of the query and just make that a little bit smaller. So now we're actually going to convert this query from a select query, as it is currently, to an update query. So the different query types that we can use are up at the top. Oh, Maddie, he's reacted. Up at the top. So we're going to select update because we want to update a value in our table. So when we do that, there's a very subtle change. And what happens here is we've got update 2 is one of our rows. And simply what we want to do is every time this query is run, we want to get the vehicle ID of the selected vehicle, and we want to change the sold value to 1. And 1 is the Boolean, is one of our Boolean values. We could have written true with a capital T, because 1 and true mean exactly the same thing. Now, as a very quick test, what we can do is now run this query again. And what we'll see is a little warning that Access gives us saying that we're about to update one row. And it says that once you click it, you can't undo it. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to click yes, and now that query has done its business. So if we look back into the vehicle table, we can see now that our vehicle number 5, the value inside the sold has gone from unchecked to checked. So now it's true. So just so we can test that again, I'm going to uncheck it again and then go back to the design of our query and say that's it. Didn't want to go there, I want to go back to our query. And we now know that this is going to work. So what we need to do is actually complete. So in the design, back on the design tab, it automatically went back to home. So back onto the design tab, and we've got run. So we just checked run, and run worked. We're actually going to go to save. Okay, when we click the save button at the top left hand corner, it says save as. We must give this query a name. And the best way to name these are to say what type of query it is and what it's doing. So this is an update underscore sold underscore vehicle. So it's updating a sold vehicle. Then click OK. What's happened now is just another heading has opened up in our objects over here, and it's got queries, and you can see that there's now the update sold vehicle query is sitting there. So we can close that now. We can close that vehicle table, and what we can do is I'm just going to press escape on this form so that it clears it out. Just going to double check our vehicle table. Let's just uncheck a few more so we can see that those just see that this is working. Just going to quickly refresh our form. Okay, now when I check in our vehicle box, we've got a lot more vehicles available because I've just unchecked some. So currently, to run this query, we need to double click here over on this query. What we want to happen is that actually get run automatically when we click this complete sale button. So we go back to our design view for our new sale, and we click on here. Over in the properties on the left, we've got event. So when we click on a button and we expect things to happen, it actually creates an event. And you see we've got on click, and then there's an embedded macro. I'm just going to click on the little ellipses to the left and see what that macro does. And it's opened it up and says on error. This is standard automatic error checking that happens on buttons. And then it's got go to record. So this is where we've actually told the button to go to the next record. And this is what's going to clear the form, and the next record on an update form is a new record. So that's going to be opening a new one. And then it's got some more error checking. What we want to happen is we need to add a new action. So clicking on the combo box for new action, what we want to do is to open a query. So when we click on there, it says query name, and we can click on the over here, and that's the only query that we've got. Click on there. View, we don't actually want to view anything, so we can leave it as data sheet. Go back down here, and data mode, we don't want edit, we want don't even want read only. Yep, so that's all we need. It's going to open up that it's going to run that query and open the query in the datasheet view, and it's going to modify, just as we did when we double clicked it, it's going to modify the value. The place that we want that to happen is before the go-to record. The reason we want it to happen before the go-to record is that the go-to record is actually going to clear the form. So if we run this query after we've cleared the form, there's not actually going to be a selected vehicle in our vehicle ID. So the query needs to happen first, and then we can go to the next record. What this is going to do, it's actually going to open the data sheet for the query. So it's actually going to show us the results of the query. And we're going to leave it like that for the time being, but then later, when we've made sure it's all working, we're going to come back and we're going to decide when we're actually going to be closing that data sheet as well, automatically on here. It will no doubt go after the go-to record. But we're going to save this. So I'm going to click the save button. I'm going to click the close button. And then I'm going to click the nice view button, the form view for our system, and then I'm going to go to the new sales. So what we're going to do is going to do a new sale. Going to select today's date, 26. Going to choose any client, any one of our unsold vehicles, click somebody who sold it, and pop in a value for the sale, and then I'm going to click complete sale. It says it's just about to run an update query that will modify data in the table. That's what we expected. We're going to click yes. It's going to tell us how many rows it's actually going to be modifying in a table, which is what we expect. We only expect it to be modifying the value for this vehicle in the vehicles table. I'm going to click yes, and there we go. So our form is refreshed, so it's ready for our next sale. If we look at our vehicle table, we can see that this is the one that I selected, Bingu Green, and that has now turned into sold. and there we are, back as we were. Automatically that query's closed itself as well, which is even better. So we can now modify values. We've used an update query to modify values in the table, which is running from a button, a click of a button. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Any problems, just ask away in questions on Teams, and hopefully it makes sense. Thanks very much. See you soon.